My oh my, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, People's Pundit. It is Friday, October 6th. Listen, don't forget to check out the Roger Stone interview over the weekend. If you listen to the Roger Stone show in the Maryland, D.C. area, it's good conversation, really good conversation about polling. Some of the stuff we gave him a little bit of tidbits, from what's going on in this poll we're going to go over today. Really cool. It was a cool conversation. So don't miss it. Also, of course, if you like the show, don't forget to like it, give it a little plus sign on Rumble, do whatever it is you do, heart on Getter, all that good stuff, and subscribe. Sign up, sign up, sign up, sign up, sign up, and of course, smash the like button. Peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. You will get the results of this poll we're going over today, a little bit of. First, if you are a supporter on Locals. So if you like what we're doing, mosey on over to peoplespundit.locals.com, sign up, become a supporter, and stand up for free speech. The bottom line is, too, the only way to really go after censorship and fight big tech censorship is to support creators that are on free speech platforms. All right. So eventually, too, I always bust everybody's chops to go over to Rumble because their integration, the beta that's in the pipeline that's coming out, it's going to be such a seamless program that eventually you're really going to want to do it hand in hand anyway. Of course, Book Club, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The book right over, wrong shoulder, right over my shoulder right there, which is, of course, the emerging Republican majority. After that one, we'll be doing the emerging Democratic majority by Textera. All right. Should be really cool. And then when we talk about this stuff, all right, for those who are in the book club, you have a bit of an advantage. Oh, right, though, Laura, book club this Sunday has got to be canceled. First of all, a bunch of regulars aren't going to be there, but pumpkin picking is this Sunday. That's right. I forgot about that. And you know what? I don't want to say their names, but of course, I got contacted separately by like 4 regulars now who said they can't make it. One's got something with mass. Another one's got a religious holiday observation. Another one's going up to the Northeast, doing some family stuff. Yeah, beautiful Northeast this time of year. Oh, whoa. Fall is in the air. And you know what? We're actually talking about the Northeast and the emerging Republican majority right now. But they have an advantage. If you've read these books and you understand these books, you have an advantage when we go over a poll like we're going to go over today. All right. And I'm sorry I got this thing in front of me. And you can binge watch them and catch up. Laura's 100% correct. What do I mean by that? So we're talking not just about the tip of the iceberg when it comes to polls. Let me go ahead and get that going. We're not just talking about the top line numbers, how they change, or even if, for instance, you isolate everyone who chose Robert Kennedy Jr. in the hypothetical matchups and you just look at those voters, you separate them out, which I'm going to do with one group of interviews. I haven't combined them all yet, but I'll give you an idea. And you guys are really super smart. So you understand. I go over raw collection with you guys, especially locals people. I've done this a million times with them. They understand, YouTube members too, by the way. They understand the difference between raw collection and weighted results. So when I show them something, we discuss it, they can get an idea of what's going to happen when the data is processed. Modest weighting with this between the phone component and the online and the SMS to online, right? And it will be, when all is said and done, it will be a modest weight. The phone specifically, the phone in general. If people were contacted by phone in any way, whether it's agent, excuse me, agent, P2P, SMS, it's more male, a little bit, just a hair, more male. And then online is a little bit too female. That's how this goes. Put them together, they'll be pretty close. And of course, we'll calibrate them and rake weight and do what we do. Okay. But for instance, let's say with the online, we go and we're going to do that in a second and isolate all of RFK's voters. On the surface, it may look like, oh my God, this is going to kill Joe Biden, until you dig inside the numbers. All right. And you realize that, in fact, a lot of RFK support is being pulled away from orphan Democrats who head to head against Biden say they will vote for Trump. So that is happening. The question here is whether Trump's lead is durable enough to sustain that. All right. And the truth is, I don't know. I have my predictions, but I don't have the answer until everything's done and everything's processed. But if something doesn't change, that's generally what we're looking at here. As far as the primary goes, people are going to flip. Normally, national polls are leading indicators to state polls. I actually still think that holds in this case because, for instance, you saw the rise of Vivek, but not in Iowa, but you did see it in some other states. When we polled Texas and California, we saw it. Nikki Haley is the new one, the new one du jour, right? Very clearly can see Nikki Haley increasing a little bit nationally, but certainly booting Ron DeSantis out of the runner-up position in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, right? We know that. That's happening. Oh, God, by the way, Laura just jumped in. Get your questions in. Get your questions in. It's a Friday, Freewheeling Friday, Q&A Friday. Get your questions in. Laura will aggregate them and throw them in there. We're going to leave a lot of time for questions today for a very simple reason. One, the poll's not done yet. It's not done yet, and I don't want to give anybody it's not done yet. And when it's done, we'll go over it in very, deep detail. And of course, we have the rule for people, which I'm not going to go over again because I can tell there's some people watching here that are just dying to say, what do I want to do with my polling? Let me listen to Rich. No state secrets for you today. Nope. What do I do with RFK and West in the race? How do I handle it? Let's go watch Rich's show and then trash him after I steal his methodologies. No secret sauce for you today. That's it. And then the second reason, of course, is that the real boss said that I have to leave an hour for questions. She said that I don't get through them in time and that I take too long and that if I'm going to make a Q&A on Friday, I got to be more than a half an hour. So we're going to try to shoot for an hour. Of course, we have the break at the top of the hour. So maybe I'll shift up how we do the breaks. We'll do 2 breaks separate each ones, 45 and 45. But try to leave at least 45 minutes for questions. I'll do my best. Laura said hour. She doesn't. Commercial break, Laura. Commercial break. Maybe I'll just merge the show into a question show. First and foremost, I got to play a video. To get us loose, it is Freewheeling Friday, so you got to get us loose. I got to play a clip. It's a little less than a minute long. If you're Donald Trump, if you're a Donald Trump supporter, if you're a Republican in general, which means you're likely a Donald Trump supporter, you really want to see more of this stuff. The problem with bubbles and elitism, even if you have a rigged system that favors you, the problem is you're eventually going to say something like basket of deplorables. Okay. You're eventually going to say something that because you don't care. You're so careless. You're like, I have a built-in structural advantage in the system. So I'm going to be super confident in my ability to rob stuff. I'm going to be super confident in my ability to sick police state powers on my political opponents. Basically, I handicap the political system. So eventually I'm going to get really stupid and careless and say something dumb. If you are, again, Donald Trump, his supporters, Republican in general, you want this woman to just keep talking.
Very strong partisans in both parties in the past. And we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes. But there wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the dog of the Republican Party as it is today. Mm-hmm. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen. And how do
you idiot! She just can't help herself. If I'm Joe Biden, somebody put out Never mind, I'm not going to say that. Shut this woman up by, like, almost any and all means necessary. Shut this woman up. MAGA cult members have to be deprogrammed. Oh my God. It was trending, of course, on Twitter. Of course it was. Totalitarian alert. The paddy wagons are coming. Everyone's getting stuffed in a van. Mandatory reporting for Hillary Rodham Clinton's deprogramming sessions. All citizens. Attention, all citizens. Be outside the front porch at 6:30 a.m. Monday. Report for deprogramming. Holy crap. This woman just can't help herself. No wonder why I'm seeing what I'm seeing in the polls. And you're going to see it. I mean, guys, for Joe Biden to like take a lead, it needs to be D plus 10. I'm not joking. For Joe Biden to have the lead he had, and actually it's more than that. For Joe Biden to have the lead that he had in 2020, a Biden plus 4. So far in the collection that we have, which is over, like the certain and likelies are around 1,900 online, a couple hundred on the phone, something like that. I don't know. I got to look at it. The phone always takes a little longer. It has to be like, I think it's like D plus 11, Laura, right? We were just talking about this. It's D plus 11, the electorate, in order to get Biden up by 4. So I can't imagine why. I just can't imagine why. This woman just can't stop. She can't help herself. As far as the primary goes, this is going to be very likely Trump's biggest lead we ever found. Everyone is basically in single digits. It's bad, including Ron DeSantis. I'm just telling you. Could he end up squeaking out a 10% maybe or something? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Right now, it's like a fight for second place with Haley, DeSantis, and Vivek. Vivek, I think, is probably like a point behind them. I don't know. When it all said and done, I just want to give you a ballpark idea of what I'm seeing and what things are at. It's very possible DeSantis ends up at 8-9%. I'm not kidding. If things don't improve for him shortly, that's where it's going to be. All right, so let's look at the president. It's weird. Joe Biden does a lot better, or not a lot, but marginally better on the phone. We just never had Kennedy at 20% like other people. I think Rasmussen at one point had him at like 25. I just don't know how people are finding that. Doesn't matter what component it is, what data collection method it is. We have Kennedy around 12% in the Democratic primary, which is important considering, right? And so let's look at only Kennedy's voters. And then you're going to be like, see, Rich, you were wrong. I told you. Just bear with me for a second, okay? Head to head, it's not going to be ABC News poll big, but it's not as close as it was last month in our polling as far as head to head. Does look like Trump stretched his legs out a little bit, or at least it does for right now. Probably closer to Fox News, a little bit more than Fox News, maybe somewhere around the messenger poll. Everybody is right in the same range, right? Trump has got like a 2-point lead. It's probably a little bigger than that. I'm just saying. However, with the presence of third parties, how do we, there's a couple of ways to look at this. First of all, until processing and weighting is done, we're just not going to know for sure exactly what that is. But I can tell you, and I'm going to show you, that Kennedy's support is not really in the north. It's exactly what I said. It's not in the Northeast, where everyone thinks that he'll be drawing Democratic support. In a state like Maine, it's very going by demographics. It's very likely that Kennedy's presence in the race could throw Maine to Donald Trump. It could. I'm talking about the whole state, not the 2nd congressional district. It could throw Maine to Donald Trump. The way these demographics work out, it's really weird, folks. I mean, there will be states that would be very close, and I would say that on both sides, that normally aren't that close. So like in maybe not Indiana, that's too pro-Trump, but maybe a Missouri, something like that, would be closer for Republicans. And Maine would be closer for Democrats than it should be. But it's amazing that like in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, you're just not seeing what you would think you would be seeing with candidate associated with the Kennedy name. And that's before Kennedy. That's before Biden, actually, before two things. Before Biden runs around with Kennedy family members trashing their own family, and Kennedy running attack ads against the DNC, because I cannot stress enough how that is going to cause the hive mind backlash. People, Democrats, will coalesce. If you just look at his voters and you look at their demographics by party, by ideology, you think, oh, this is bad for Biden. Until you realize that Trump in the head to head actually gets those Democrats, or a lot of them. Kennedy takes a big chunk off of the someone else that we do in the head to head. He takes about a point from the undecided. We're not going to have him at 20% like Ross Perot levels yet. We're just not there. His poll for his own campaign had him at what, 19, something like that. I can't remember what Echelon had him at. We're going to have him ballpark around 9-10%. All right. I would say that's 8 to 10. Kill me if it's a point or two in one direction or another, or two, but ballpark, high single, low double digits. That tends to fade over time. I do think he's going to lose a lot of his what Democratic support he has that are true Democrats, that are Biden voters that don't want to vote for Biden. That will dissipate when he starts attacking the DNC. I'm telling you, it will. And when people start to realize I could throw this election at Donald Trump by giving Kennedy my vote. On the flip side of that, there are Kennedy voters, independents, moderates, and some like those truly orphan Democrats. And there aren't that many. I'm just saying that's how statistics work. It's never just one group. Most of them right now are saying, yeah, okay, I'd stick with Kennedy. I'd go with Kennedy. But over time, historically, you could expect them to decide to go with Trump, or at least many of them, not all of them, but you can expect them to go with Trump in the end, and then find out RFK ends up somewhere in the neighborhood of Gary Johnson or something. Maybe better, a little bit better, but somewhere in the ballpark of Gary Johnson. All right, so let's look at just those who vote for Kennedy when we do the Kennedy, Trump, Biden. Let's add that. And then when we do Kennedy, Trump, Biden, and West, let's add them. Let's look at who these people are. All right. And give me a second. We'll refresh it. I'm only going to do those who are certain and likely to vote. Well, we're going to show the difference. We will. All right. It does look at first glance, oh my God, it hurts Biden. It does, but it matters where it's hurting Biden and where it's hurting Trump. If you're going to hurt Biden a little bit in the Northeast, hurt him a little bit in the West, but ultimately in those states, he's going to carry them anyway. But you're going to hurt Donald Trump more in the Midwest and in certain southern states. Well, and that's a problem. So, for instance, against Biden in Pennsylvania, Trump's going to take like 10, 12% of Democrats. Against Biden and RFK in Pennsylvania, he's only going to take like 7. All right. So what does that mean? It means Republicans would have to outvote Democrats, which they do in Pennsylvania when Donald Trump is on the ballot. Not any other time, but when Donald Trump is on the ballot, they do. Quinnipiac poll, you can actually see it. They're more willing to go out and vote in the presidential cycle. And McCormick is still down to Bob Casey by 10, by the way, or something like that. Trump's up over Biden by 2 in Pennsylvania. McCormick is down by 10. Trump gets a vote in Pennsylvania that Republicans don't get. With RFK, some of that vote comes off. Now, what does it mean? And I don't think he'll care. I was just talking to Jack Sobek earlier this morning. And really what he said was, because we were talking about it, we were going over it and discussing it. This puts Trump back in the margin of fraud. It does. This is the difference between a 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's a wrap. Donald Trump has defeated Joe Biden. There aren't enough absentee ballots out there left. It's over. Donald Trump's the 47th president. Joe Biden's a one-termer. It's the difference between that and biting your damn fingernails and waiting to see who won the election. All right. All right. So, for instance, so we signed this up. So we looked this up. Dun, 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 right. So this, by the way, this is not the phone. I'm just trying to show you because I haven't combined them yet. So these are only RFK's voters. All right. So you can see taking them from the someone else third party in the head to head. In this case, he does appear to be taking a little bit more from Biden than Trump. All right. But again, where is what matters. All right. And I'm like hesitant to show the overall because I can tell you they each, in this case, they're each losing similar, with Trump losing about a point more, even though that doesn't look right. I know, I get it. Watch. Of course, I'm only choosing RFK's voters here. What about in the full ballot? Who are these people coming from? And it draws away. He draws 35% who chose someone else initially. Again, he does take a little bit away from a little bit more away from Biden in this case. And then Cornel West takes 17%. Cornel West at this point is generally a non-factor. He's doing very badly in the phone component, and I mean very badly in the phone. Very bad. And online, he does a little bit better, but when West is in the race alone against Biden and Trump, he does a little bit better. But when that's not what I wanted to do. But when he is together with RFK, Trump, and Biden, he falls to low single digits, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1-2%. All right, let me go to the independents and the leanings, which we did. All right, cool. All right, here's where it gets confusing. Here's where it gets a little bit confusing. Who does RFK take from? What do these people look like? Okay, let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. So, generally, do you consider yourself a Republican, a Democrat, or independent, or someone else? Obviously, he's taking the most from those who consider themselves to be independent. Democrats, he's pulling, and it doesn't mean he's pulling 33.6% of Democrats. This is his share, his total share. This is 134 interviews with people who chose RFK when they were given the choice on every head-to-head hypothetical. Not head-to-head, every hypothetical presidential matchup. If RFK's in it, these are his voters. And across all of them, 134 so far, it's going to grow, obviously. 134 said that they are for RFK in all different scenarios, not for one and not the other. As you can see here, this is all the scenarios. All right. It doesn't mean he's taking 40% independence. That's not what this means. Again, this is why I don't want you to misunderstand, because the truth is it's not a crystal clear picture on who it hurts. I mean, you would think it looks that way, but when you understand what I'm saying, and in this context, it's not the case, because people do get crossover, and it matters. Are they getting Midwestern Democrats? Are they getting Southern Democrats and like North Carolina, for instance? All right. 39.6% of his vote is independent. That's how you read this. Not that he's taking 39.6% of independents. Very different. Of all of his vote, the share is about 40% independent, about 34% Democratic, about 18% Republican, and about 9%, or not 9, it is 9 right now, something else or third party. All right, what would you describe your political views of those who vote for RFK across the spectrum? 63.4% are moderate. Am I showing this correctly? Thank you. 18.7% are liberal, and 18% are conservative. So very close. Talking about the difference between a single interview is very close. Bear with me. All right, let's go through some of the other stuff. We did ask of those Republicans, who are you? They are more traditional Republican. Ironically, considering the praise that some MAGA heaped on RFK, you would think that they would be more MAGA. They are not. And again, this is a very small sample, but I mean, we're talking to 24 people that were Republicans that voted for RFK across the board, or said they would vote for RFK across the board. You could very clearly see, even with a small sample, these are Rhino never Trumpers that Trump needs to consolidate. And then as far as the Democrats, they're totally different. They're the opposite side of the spectrum, which is interesting. But very, 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 very little MAGA say they will vote for RFK. Very little. I'm trying to think of a person who would fit this mold, Laura. I'm trying to think. Who are these people? And you know what? Let me go to the comment sections and see if anybody's given me a good comment that kind of explains who these people are. I want to say I don't want, because there's some people I'm thinking of, but I don't want to give them any. I don't want to give them any clout, Laura, give me an idea here. God, I'm trying to think of a person. Bill Crystal. No, not Bill Crystal. Actually, Barnes, like somebody like a Barnes. I think Barnes would go for Trump over RFK. I'd have to ask him. But no, they're Republicans. I'm talking about just a Republican here, that traditional Republican that is mad at Trump right now. Okay. Maybe Chris Christie would vote for Biden, guys. But that was a good one. Getting closer. All right. They don't align with MAGA. They are very different. Luke from Timcast, maybe. I don't know if he's a Republican. A Pence supporter is a good. Yeah. Okay. A Pence supporter. Yep. That's maybe Ben Shapiro. I don't know if he's talked well about RFK, but Mo Skittle has it. I just don't want to say her name. Mo Skittle on YouTube. Laura, can you grab that without flashing her name on the screen and send it in all the other and Caliber? I'll say that one, Caliber. Matt Walsh, maybe. Yeah. Yep. And then so like FX Caliber have it in YouTube, and Mo Skittle has it in YouTube. Those two are great examples. Yeah, DeWeege and Locals. Yep. Blondie just said the same thing. Absolutely. Without a doubt. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it on the screen, but if you want to share it amongst themselves, yeah, because I don't want to give these people any credit or any shout out whatsoever. It's interesting. Let me read it, because my buddy Larry Schweikert just texted, and he said, I got a specific person for you. Where's my phone? I saw it on the screen, but I don't want to bring it up on the screen. Let's see. I have a very specific person for you. A friend voted for Obama once, Trump the second time, and is angry at Trump because of the vax and failure to crush Antifa in the cities. Yes. Yep. That's probably someone. Absolutely. That's it. I think that it would be prudent for Trump to watch how he attacks RFK. He's got to start swinging on RFK. He does. But I would watch how he does it, because you want to do it in a way that criticizes him for things that are liberal orthodoxy. Why? You don't want to lose that liberal vote that is little, but it's going to RFK. You want to make sure that RFK's I'm peeling from Biden vote sticks to that they still do peel from Biden. If you attack him on things that are on the right, like the vaccine, like, oh, he's a crazy kook on the vax. If Trump does that, it's going to push Democrats back to Biden. Attack him on guns. Attack him on green stuff. I would actually leave the vax, because take Larry's example that Larry just texted me. Is that going to help Larry's friend move back to Trump? No. It's going to give him further fire to attack him with. I haven't grouped age yet. Maybe I will in front of you. This is another thing that makes it look like it hurts Biden more. On the surface, it does. All right. Would you say your views are more closely aligned to the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, equally close to the Republican Party and Democratic Party, or share little in common with either? Wide, Rich, Republicans are 26.2% of this group. Democrats are. Republicans are only 21.5. How could you say that it hurts Trump a little bit more than it hurts Biden? They share little in common with either. And those that say they're equally aligned, those two combined together. Of those, and I'll nest this in MarketSite to show you guys, of those who share little in common with either, who say they would vote for RFK if he was on the ballot as an independent, if he wasn't on the ballot, that's the group that makes up a large chunk of the 30% of his vote who say, if it's not RFK, I'll vote for Trump. So if you're Trump, you want that. Again, I'm going to harken back to 2016. That's who I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Michelle from Lansing Hills, Michigan, Laura. Some people stick with you forever, folks, in this business. If you do what I do, some people stay with you forever. Michelle is how Donald Trump won Michigan. Michelle was a Bernie primary voter. Her husband was more conservative, but his working class guy was pro-Trump. Why? Because of trade. Trade destroyed his industry. Textbook Trump 2016. NAFTA's stupid. I'm going to renegotiate trade deals. If you elect Hillary, TPP's coming, and it's going to wreck the rest of your economy. Well, for Michelle, she would prefer, because she's a liberal, she understood that, but wasn't fond of Trump. And instead, she voted for Bernie in the primary and was hoping he would beat the corporatist Hillary Clinton. He didn't. So, her husband is a Trump voter. They're still in the economic position they're in. She went with Trump. Michelle from Lansing Hill, Michigan, is how Trump carried the state of Michigan. Now, things are different. He got a lot more votes in 2020, and I get that. Could be a totally different equation, totally different coalition in 2020. But you're not rooting to lose voters. And these voters look like Michelle. They sound like Michelle. They answer like Michelle. All right, so moving on. The social bias indicator is very interesting. We could look at when we get there. We're seeing some really big numbers again. Really big numbers. All right. Big was, and look at RFK's vote, for instance, with pollsters. 24.6% said they're somewhat uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable was over 1 in 5. So combined, we're talking about 40, more than 45%. It's a big deal. Here's another one. Larry is texting me. But again, good. That's another good example. Larry's got a friend who's pissed at Trump because he thinks he didn't do enough for January 6ers, even though we wanted him to march on the Capitol with them. And now he's like, I'm going to support RFK. All right, so this is getting, you look family. It looks like things are cooling off with family members, at least among RFK's supporters. And we'll look at this in more detail. And I'll even get rid of the certain to vote. We'll get rid of the screens because we did all register voters. And I'm only showing you those right now who are certain or likely to vote. We'll show you the difference. We're going to release both the registered voters result and the likely voter result. Likely voter does help Joe Biden. Donald Trump has a much bigger lead with those who are unlikely to vote. This is something that is a new phenomenon. We keep telling people this and beating it like a damn dead horse. And Republicans don't know how to get these voters out. They don't, Laura. And we have been very privy to some of the things that are going on in Republican circles to try to catch up with Democrats. And I am unimpressed. I'm less than unimpressed. I'm frankly disgusted. Why? They don't get it. They don't understand how they're going to get them to do it. They think it's a lot easier than it really is. And they have a wake-up call. And the only if these people come out at this rate, it will have nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with the efforts by the RNC or any other group right now. It will be that Trump got them out, because when you ask people who would you organically go and vote for? Who? Only Donald Trump makes a dent. Only Trump makes a dent. Tell you what, too, the phone was so much more Republican. It's not even funny. And in the phone right now, Laura, let me just send you the updated. I can't show them yet. I'd have to combine it because people have a canary. But folks, we spoke to 40 people so far today. It just started. We don't start until noon. All right. So 40 people by phone so far today. It's an absolute bloodbath. Looks like DeSantis is doing a few points better, but Nikki Haley is too. They're tied. They're basically tied. And everyone else is just doing horrible. And Trump's numbers are to the moon. They're gone. He's gone. This is not going to change. The Republican primary is over. Okay. I don't know how much. Look at this, Laura. Look at this. I don't know how much more I could say. I don't know what else to say. First 40 interviews or so from today. I mean, this is crazy. You see it? Laura's laughing in the other room. That's bigger than yesterday, Laura. I didn't look to see what their demographics were specifically, but I can real quick for you if you want. They're a little bit more male, but Republicans are. The Republican electorate is more male. In the general, that's Republican interviews. In the general, there's actually 70. It's ABC News Big. The general. It's ABC News Big. I'm not kidding. It's unbelievable. We should have asked to lean people. We should have. But we didn't. RFK's, by the way, his vote is very female. Very. Look at that. Holy crap. Which again, you would think, well, Rich, isn't that going to hurt Joe Biden? Not really. If I group these up, we would see, but let's see. Again, something a little Barnes was right a little bit about something. Let's see about younger groups. Not young. He really just doesn't have young support, not really. That is a problem too, because, and I'm going through every age. That's a problem because that's a Democratic constituency, I mean, look at how white RFK's support is. 74% of RFK's solid vote is 74% of it is white. Only 11% is black. 9% is Hispanic. 4.5% Asian, 1.5% Indian and Alaskan Native. So when you hear John Zogby in his polling memo to Kennedy, because he polls for Kennedy's PAC, when you hear him say, yeah, it could be damning for Biden because he takes some black and brown people. Yeah, sure. But the electorate's going to be 68% white. His vote is 74% white. So you're taking more than anything. You're taking a lot of Trump's vote. I don't care what anybody says. And even in the phone, Laura, if you look at that phone I was just talking about, Biden, with Kennedy in the race in the phone, Biden actually rose a little bit today. He rose 1.5 points, 1.5%. And Trump fell 3%. This is very obvious to me. Although in the phone, Kennedy's only at 6%, roughly. He's not even at 9%. So he'll come in ballpark around there. West just doesn't have any support. He just doesn't. 1%, 2% when he's on there with other choices. If you put him on alone, he gets some support. But when you don't, and we'll look at West too, by the way. We'll do that. English. The only thing good is that for the only thing good for Trump, if you look at the white detail, the only thing good for Trump is that the more ethnic white groups are more Trumpy. Italians, Germans, Irish, they're more Trumpy. When you look at English and American, that tends to be a more democratic white detail than other ethnicity. He's not taking anything from Poles. Even Irish, you would think, I'm not surprised number 2, but it isn't it's not the dynamics we're seeing played out in the 1969 emerging Republican majority. And we just talked about the Kennedy coalition last Sunday. That's not what's happening here. And I'll show you. We'll get to religion in a bit. There's not enough. Honestly, it's only 12 interviews. It's not enough Kennedy support among Hispanics to really infer anything. Although it is, it's more Mexican. It's not taking from the traditional Mexican, is shifting Republican. That's why Trump is doing so much better with Hispanics. By the way, people are going to crap when they see the Hispanic number with Trump v. Biden. They're going to crap. We have not been one of those like the ABC News polls, like, oh my God, Trump is actually ahead with Hispanics. Not quite, but I do buy totally the Fox poll, like a Biden +7, 52-45. That's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of where we're going to be, which is going to be an all-time high for Donald Trump with Hispanics. Let's see. So that's Chinese, that's Asian detail. Not enough again. Disaffected people. Remember on what was it, Monday? We went over RFK's support in the Democratic primary in our previous polling, and I said the problem for Trump is that he wins. He does better with not winning even, but typically Democrat constituencies in the employment demographic, such as disabled. I gave up and I'm not looking. He's taking some of that. The employed full-time, 36.6%, is slightly less than its average. And then retired, 32.8%. Of course, retirement is a huge group for Republicans. Huge. The working part-time, he's taking about 10 or 10% is made up of working part-time. Disabled, 8% of his vote is disabled. And then unemployed but not looking, another 5. Unemployed but looking, 5. Student only 3. That's it. If you were looking to a place like Dane County, right? Milwaukee, Center County, Pennsylvania, parts of the Northeast in Pennsylvania, even hell in North Carolina, the Chapel Hill area. Think about how this is going to play out. Florida's gone. Trump's going to take Florida regardless. Florida's gone. Trump is ahead by like 8 points. It's ridiculous. It's over. But in some of these states where there are big student populations, they matter. If you're the Trump campaign, you want to see a lot more of RFK's solid support being student. It's not. It's just not. Union households, 90% no. 90%. Only 10% yes. Public or private sector unions, at least of those that he takes more of the public, which is more Democratic. Going on to education. This is very interesting. Look at his support. Only 13% of a postgraduate degree. Only 16% of a 4-year college degree. 28% of a high school education or GED equivalent. 43% have some college or a 2-year associate degree. Those last two groups are Trump's bread and butter. Trump's bread and butter. Household income, 50 to 100,000. The cream of the crop of Republican income target groups. That is his single largest supporting group. 30 to 50, which Trump has made inroads with, which is a big deal, is the second. Under 30, which Trump made inroads with, is the third. So, look, 200 or more is nothing. Nothing. That's Biden's best group. One interview, Laura. Holy crap. Out of 134 interviews, one, Laura, one makes $200,000 or more. Kennedy's support is not the modern Democratic Party. Look at marital status. Yeah, I wouldn't glean too much from that. Single is the second. But again, I don't know. Yes, all 18 or over, the best group for Republicans for parental status. That's the largest share, single share of Kennedy's support, and it's a 44% plurality, 37% no, which is a Democratic group. So, it's close, but it's not that close. Moving on. Are you a veteran? No. 91%. Are you a military member? No. 91% combined. Active duty military, 2%. Veterans, 7%. You don't really want to see that. You don't want to see them taking anything like that. But, again, the biggest group is no. So few people serve in this country. It's disgrace, frankly. Look at this. Protestant and other Christian is his number one group, not Catholic. Not Muslim, not Jewish, or some other religion. But the most Republican religious affiliation is his number one group. You guys starting to see the point here? No religion. Trump has done, we've talked about this for months. Yes, no religion is a Democratic group. But it has gotten more Trumpy since 2020. A lot more Trumpy. I have a sneaking suspicion Biden will be holding his nuns. Which means they go to, which means the ones he's pulling them from are Trumpers. Evangelicals, yes. Now, obviously, Trump is still going to crush Joe Biden with evangelicals, even with RFK in the race. There are still some Democratic evangelicals. There absolutely are. But you don't want to lose any of them. Wisconsin, for instance, Trump drives them up to about a quarter of the electorate, something nobody's been ever able to do, and he wins them 3-1. He needs every one of them. Telling you, he does. Suburban, 49.3. Urban, 26.1. Rural, 24.6. So the RFK coalition is roughly the same percentage between urban and rural. Not good. What states? California, Texas, Florida, Illinois. It really doesn't matter. What it does matter is by region. We do the 4 census regions, folks. So, for instance, let's see. Yeah, should I do it? Yeah. It's not going to report like that anyway. So, let's try to group them together, okay? Let's do the Northeast, for instance. And for those who don't know what our definitions are, you're about to find out, okay? All right, there's Connecticut. And this is tough to just do off the bat. Like, my eyes get crazy here. But Maine. Maryland's the South. Massachusetts. New Hampshire. New Jersey. New York. Pennsylvania. Rhode Island. Vermont. And that's a wrap. All right, so let's do that. Add another group. Let's add, we do the Midwest after that. to the Midwest. And I'm good. This is what I always screw up on because there's just some stuff I'm never gonna remember. I have to refer to the regional definitions. Oops. Oh no, that's okay. Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri. Maybe I'd have to go back and look. I want to make sure I'm right. Oklahoma's the South. Oregon, Utah, Virginia, Washington, D.C. That's the South. West Virginia, Wisconsin. Okay. And then we're going to do the South. I know I missed something somewhere. I know I did. We just get to market site. Yeah, I'm a little lazy. What can I tell you? Once you start the regional definitions, it's like putting someone's phone number in your phone. You're never going to remember it again. Right, Laura? It's like you're not going to in August was our last one, wasn't it? Wow, no, really? Oh, well, it was really September. It was collected in August, right? You're not going to remember everyone's phone number, so you just put the regional definition in there. And whoops, I screwed up. Sorry. There we go. Region. Okay. So pop up. There we go. Where are we on? We're on the South, right? Okay, so Alabama, Georgia. I think I forgot a couple, but Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Delaware is the South in this case, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi is the South in this regional definition. Nebraska, Montana, New Mexico, North Carolina. Bear with me, guys, because I do want you. It's very important. I do want you to see this. And then I believe, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, Washington, D.C. All right. And West Virginia. Okay. And then the rest will be the West, probably. Unless I missed something, but we'll see. And the West, Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota is, I just want to make sure. Yeah, it is. No, South Dakota is, and North Dakota is the Midwest. Whoops. All right, I'll skip that. Oh, I forgot Ohio. How the hell did I do that? North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. All right, let's go back to the South and get the Dakotas in there. Whoops. All right. South Dakota, North Dakota, Ohio. That's it. We're good. So let's revisit this. All right. His support, the Northeast is 18-20% of a national electorate, but only 13.4% of RFK support comes from the Northeast. 22.4% is like on the money with the West. That is proportionately representative to the West's population, what it is, its representation in the national electorate. The Midwest is slightly lower than the Midwest's representation, but still, it is more than the Northeast, the liberal area of the country. And then the South is by far. So, like I said, the support that he draws from the South and the Midwest is a big deal. In the West, it's a coin toss. Because the states that you care about in the West, if you're Trump, are Arizona, Nevada, and yeah, there are some other long shots, but that's generally the ones you want to play in. You need Arizona. So the best you could hope for there is that he's pulling equally away from both. In the South, this is a problem. This is a problem. Why? Georgia. The only good news for not Joe Biden. The only good news for the Trump campaign is that his support is, when it comes to black voters, is about on par, a little bit less than its national representation. So you're not going to see him pull a ton of black vote out of Georgia. What he will pull are those orphan Democrats in Central and South Georgia that Trump wins. He's not pulling it from Fulton County, folks. He's not pulling it from Gwinnett, DeKalb, whatever. Nope. No, sir. Also, North Carolina. Problem. If he pulls some vote in Virginia, is it going to come from the mountain region? Or is it going to come from Nova? You think it's going to come from Loudoun County or Fairfax? It's not. It's going to come from the mountain region. Think Kentucky. Parts of Kentucky. The 5th Congressional District. That's where it's going to come from. I don't know that it would be enough to put a state in jeopardy. That's a good question. Like a traditionally Republican state in jeopardy. I don't know about that. But it will put a battleground state in jeopardy. It will put Georgia in jeopardy. All right. So I hope I gave you, that's really it. I mean, between area and region, that's it. I hope you gave you some idea of what it's looking like. Now, the good news for the Trump campaign is that he does have a lead. So is it enough to absorb RFK drawing that support from him? It remains to be seen. Yep. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, they're not going to take Tennessee from Trump. But he's definitely going to take Appalachia Trail voters. Think about it. The Appalachian Mountains. And why is that even partly dangerous? 50 plus counties out of Pennsylvania are actually Appalachia counties. They love the Kennedys, Kimmy. That's right. They like this Kennedy more than they like the other Kennedy, probably, because of the change in the culture over the years. All right. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, hopefully, Laura, oh my God, Laura, you got some questions. Holy hell. You weren't playing. Holy hell. Well, I'm going to have to real quick just come back and deal with the speaker thing, which I'm sure some people have questions anyway on. So we'll run through it. Okay. But let's take a real quick break and we'll come back. We'll talk about it. There it is. Listen, folks, authorities are worried that extremists are targeting the power grid, but look at how incompetent these people are in truth. And of course, there's weather events. Laura and I had a natural gas generator, but we knew we needed a solar one too. That's why you need the Patriot Power Generator 2000X. It's portable along with being solar. You can stack it for more power, but it's powerful enough to power your phones, medical devices for your families, even appliances like your refrigerator. If your power goes out and you have a natural gas generator, you could take some of the load off with the solar. And if all else fails, you have your solar backup. Why spend the money on a giant natural gas bill if you don't have to? You can get one right now if you go to 4patriots.com and use the promo code TPP10 at checkout. That's TPP10. All right. This code is good for your first purchase only. It'll work on anything, but make it count, like on the Patriot Power Generator 2000X. And they have great deals right now that they're offering. And you can use this code you could stack it on top of this code. So you could save yourself hundreds upon hundreds of dollars. Again, one more time, it's 4patriots.com. Use the promo code TPP10 at checkout and let us know what you think. We always love your feedback. We get pictures of you guys with the Patriot Power Generator and we love it. All right. So feel free to send it, my way. Again, if you have power gone for 2 days, 3 days, like the case is, or more, because, if they just targeted, 9 key substations went down, folks, be out of power for 18 months. Americans, most of their lives would be frozen in time the power went out. Everyone knows it. They're not prepared. Most people aren't prepared. Laura and I have the philosophy that you're never too prepared. Right? So, again, saving on the power bill. Couple of days power goes out. You want to run natural gas or propane that whole time? Not me. No, sir. No, ma'am. I am going to bust out the Patriot Power Generator 2000X and help save myself some money. And I'm busting everything else out that I buy from Four Patriots, by the way, because the food is delicious and my kids love it. And I love that they have things that kids get cabin fever, and kids can't eat like slop survival food for days and days. They need things that, what's the word, Laura? Morale boosters. A cup of hot cocoa, right? Which is, by the way, delicious. They have a lot of like cool treats. The oatmeal is delicious. I mean, they have desserts that are delicious. They're morale boosters. They have been for our kids. Phone interviews are rolling in now. That's great. And we should wrap up online collection today. Hopefully, that's the goal. We should wrap it up today. And then we will have basically given as many phone interviews. Well, maybe we will go into collection tomorrow a little bit, but the phone goes a little bit longer because the phone also has the well, so does the online, and they just don't take it as much for some reason. They have the opportunity to take a certain amount of time. They can save and continue and come back if they're interrupted by the, during their interview. If they're interrupted, they could say, look, I got to wrap this up, save and continue. Here's your link. You can come back and finish it yourself. All right. So, wow. Let's get to the speaker thing real quick. There were some developments that are big developments. As of yesterday, Jim Jordan was trailing Steve Scalise by one endorsement, and then two very big things happened. One, this man, Byron Donalds, came out after the other announcement I'm going to bring up in a second. He was considered a candidate, and he had support. So with him comes other votes. That's why this is important. And then, of course, Trump is going there on Tuesday. And then this happened. Give me 1 second. Let me take I'm not even going to lie to you. I never do take a puff break, even though Laura yells at me. I'm dancing in the camera thing for her right now in the port. She can see it. You can't. And I'm vaping and blowing it at her. Little brat, she said. All right. Trump posted to Truth Social today. Well, it was 13 minutes after midnight, and I was up, unfortunately. Congressman Jim Jordan has been a star long before making his very successful journey to Washington, D.C., representing Ohio's 4th Congressional District. Respected by all, he is now chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. As president, I had the honor of presenting Jim with our country's highest civilian award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And he got that, by the way, along with Devin Nunes and others, for pushing back on the Russia hoax. By having the courage, honestly, you got to give it credit where credit's due. And I'm telling Devin, he knows what I think of him. He's a national treasure. You know what it was like for Devin Nunes to go in that skiff? See that information, that the so-called incidental collection, which is a really nice way of saying they're abusing the FISA warrant. They're using pawns to spy on you. Why? You get 3 steps of separation. So if I can't get a warrant to spy on you because it's outrageous and there's no pretext for it, maybe I can figure out a scam pretext to spy on your best friend, or to spy on your wife or your husband or your business partner or a political ally. Or in this case, it's not even an advisor, a campaign advisor, someone who's peripheral advising the candidate. Well, then you can easily jump 3 steps of separation and get to the candidate themselves. That's what happened. That's what Devin Nunes saw. That's what Jim Jordan saw. But Devin Nunes went in that skiff. He came out, went to the microphone and said, something is wrong. This is wrong. And he knew he would be eviscerated for it. Paul Ryan, you piece of crap, you little twerp. You let him be unseated as the chairman of the House Select Committee on Intelligence because you couldn't stand the pressure. I know for a fact. Paul Ryan believed everything about the Russia hoax. And even when it became clear it wasn't true, he didn't care because he hated Donald Trump. Devin Nunes, Jim Jordan, at the time, Mark Meadows, and very few others, but they did, stood up for it. And the president rewarded them. So much is learned from sports. True. So true. And Jim was a master. While attending Graham High School, he won state championships all 4 years, a rarity, and compiled an amazing 156-1 record. I don't know if you guys know this. Jim Jordan's jacked under there. He walks around like a Buckeye, like somewhat hunched over. You remember Bill Goldberg, the spear? Jim Jordan will spear the shit out of somebody. Pardon my French. He's no joke. He's a bull. The guy's a bull. While attending Graham High School, he won, 156-1. At the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Jim became a 2-time NCAA Division I wrestling champion. He won his 85 to 86 NCAA championship matches in his weight class. Jim has a master's in education from Ohio State. My son loves Ohio State. We may lose him to Ohio State, Laura, because of the band. He loves it. He loves them, baby. He loves the Buckeyes. We got a problem. We have a big problem. Anyway, you'd be lucky to have him, Buckeyes. The kid plays a mean tenor. Anyway, master's degree in education from Ohio State University and law degree from Capital University. He is strong on crime, borders, our military, vets, and Second Amendment. Jim, his wife, Polly, and family are outstanding. He will be a great Speaker of the House and has my complete and total endorsement. Honestly, at this point, Steve Scalise, if he hasn't done it since we've been talking, Steve, you should sit down. You should step down. You made a valiant effort at it. You didn't have the votes. You know you don't. Jim Jordan is the only one who can win on a ballot, a first round ballot. He's the only one. I don't mean to be a prick here, but Cerno and I are right. If you get shot along with 4 others, almost lose your life, they did, by a nutcase who the media and the Democrats, your so-called friends across the aisle, convinced that you were enabling a Russian traitor in the White House, and you don't do anything? What good are you? When exactly do you think it's the appropriate time to take the gloves off and fight? When? They shot you, man. They shot you. They unleashed the madness on you over a lie. A lie. And you didn't do a damn thing? I don't want that guy in a foxhole next to me. I'm sorry. God bless him. I was happy. I was overwhelmed, honestly. When he came back in the House chamber after he recovered, the reception was incredible. It was a historic moment. But if somebody moves to take your life and you don't realize you're on a war footing with these people, then you have no business being the speaker or in a leadership position. I'm sorry. Laura said, I think it's the opposite. I think they scared him. That's the only explanation, Laura. If I live, you better hope I don't live. I'll tell you right now. You better hope I don't live. You drive some nutcase crazy with a lie. Everyone knows it's a lie. He pulls out a firearm, means to do harm to me and my friends. It puts a bullet in me. If I survive, I'm coming back and I'm raising that place to the ground, boy. Figuratively. I'm popping the proverbial pin. And everyone's going down with me. This is a big deal. And then you have Byron Donalds coming out right after and saying, I also endorse Jim Jordan. This is over. If Republicans don't want to make fools of themselves, everybody knows Steve Scalise does not have the votes. Kevin McCarthy himself on the way out said, most important, I don't mind being the sacrifice if it means unity. And what I care about now is that the next person gets 218 votes without going through, forget about 15 rounds, more than one. Jim Jordan's the only one who can do it. He's it. aside from Donald Trump himself, which I told you it was real. You hear those idiots on Fox News that day? I told you it was real. There were people calling him. Why? Not everyone wants Trump to be speaker or would want him to be speaker. That's not the point. Take somebody like Chris Christie. He's like, okay, they're going to put Trump forward and, a bunch of moderates are going to vote for Hakeem Jeffries. No, they're not. I dare them to vote for Hakeem Jeffries over Donald Trump. They're done. Career is over. Over. Show over. All right. Moving on. Let's get to some of these questions. Oof. No, I didn't. I said at least 45. We're at 114. That's 46. Do you think the FBI targeting MAGA voters will have an effect on the election? I do. But it could backfire. I do think it's going to have effect on the social desirability bias indicators that are firing off like crazy now. We're now back to massive numbers of people throwing signals in the social bias indicator. There is no doubt. We had a time period there where people were giving us their honest opinion. And I think that when we go over these next week, you're going to see what I see, which is that there is an obvious increase in people who are uncomfortable being honest. And I think that this absolutely could have a major impact on the polls again. All right, so Trump is doing better than he's ever done, but there's at least an argument to be made that you have these people coming and targeting and hunting Trump supporters. They're not going to want to volunteer their opinions. I can tell from people who responded. For instance, I won't say your last name, Thomas, but I can see the transcript of the interview right in front of me. I'm looking at it right here on my laptop. And Thomas just said, I'm Trump 2024. I don't want to do this. And hung up. So I can't include Thomas. Even if I had all of his demographics, he didn't answer all the other questions. And it's sad that he didn't do it, but he could have done it. Make your voice heard. But he felt like, Laura, they don't know me. Not everyone knows who Big Data Poll is. They could think it's the FBI just pulling a game, man. They wouldn't put it past them at all. Was that, Nicholas, was that what the National Alert Test was about on Tuesday? Hillary deprogramming sessions are starting. Did you hear it? And it went off on my damn live stream video, too. Did you hear it? Go for big guy. Have you and Barnes begun to vet potential congressional and Senate candidates yet? Any update on money going to the general election or setting up your PAC? I don't know how to answer that yet, Laura. To be continued. I can't tell you what's going on because I don't want to derail it. But to be continued. I will say this. Laura's right about Messiah complexes. And that is going to cost Republicans. I don't. We'll talk about this more in the future for sure. And on vetting candidates, yeah. I mean, we don't even have. We have a very small slice of the number of candidates we will be seeing in 2024. In Congress, you're going to get late-minute announcements. In the Senate, the field is definitely not even ironed out yet. But when we do see somebody that we think is more representative, and that's frankly the way I'm gonna phrase this, like J.D. Vance is probably the most representative senator in the United States Senate. He represents the state of Ohio. They, the media may say what JD does sometimes is extreme. It's mainstream Ohio. They don't want Ukraine getting rich while we go broke. They don't want this. They don't want that. JD Vance is a representative senator, as opposed to somebody like Mitch McConnell, who's from Kentucky. His state doesn't want him to do and support the things that he supports. They don't want him to do the things he does, but he got away with it. Mistake by Trump, no doubt. He got away with it. He could have been defeated last time. He didn't, and he just ignores his voters. Now they have another one, Rand Paul, right? Rand Paul is representative. All right, so we'll be talking about it like that. Red Diver comments for it similarly to Hillary's comments yesterday. The Dems can't help themselves. McCarthy gave them 95% of what they wanted, and they still ousted him. Jim Jordan is far from perfect, but he stops funding the Ukraine and actually funds the weaponization investigation that he's currently in charge of. And then this is a huge win for Gates and an unforced error from the Dems. Yes, Red Diver. Yes. So you have to ask yourself, why didn't Trump come out and save Kevin? Kevin raises money. Kevin put him on a pedestal. Aside from going out in the interview, and I can't remember who he was talking to, if it was Maria or somebody, I can't remember, saying that Trump is on another level. Ron DeSantis doesn't have it. He's nowhere near the president. That's it. Aside from that, right? He wasn't doing anything. Where are the J6 tapes? Do you know what it takes to review the J6 tapes? And then you only have a short period to do it. You know what Julie Kelly's putting herself through? The disruption in her life to relocate, go there and get, in a position where she can routinely go back and review, because you're only going to get a short period of time each day. Each day that you even get on the list. That was a big ass lie. He gave tapes to Tucker. Tucker was at Fox News, dude. And he did a great job going through and sifting through them, but the public could have done a better job. Put him in a Dropbox and let's see him. I don't care what you say your objection is to doing so now. You promised you would, and you didn't keep that promise. Again, the public doesn't want to fund Ukraine. The Republican Party is done with Ukraine. Zelensky is a crook, a criminal, and a tyrant. Republicans are supposed to be the party of the working class, the party of the average American, salt of the earth American, the party of the American dream, the party of America first, the party of family. And I think a big part of this is real simple, Red Diver. Even if Jim Jordan is not perfect, I have my gripes with Jim Jordan, big gripes. He is not perfect. But he's from Ohio. Jim Jordan is from a part of the country that represents the modern MAGA Republican Party. Is it any shock to you if you get a representative from California, you're going to get California politics? A speaker, a leader. McConnell's a sellout. He should be Rand Paul from Kentucky. And then that would represent the Republican base. Look at who leads the Democratic Party. New York and California. Well, of course, because they're a liberal, coastal, elitist, rich man party. Republicans, this is all part of the identity crisis. And if Jim Jordan ends up working out, and he does things some of you are talking about right now, guys, then he will have succeeded in helping the Republicans get past their identity crisis. Trump will not be around forever. If they somehow manage to rig this one against them too, all of the opportunity to go out and get these people is over. It's gone. You've got to make preparations to show the American public that you are, in fact, the party of Ohio and working Americans. The salt of the earth. Take your head out of your ass and take Illinois. Think that's too much? I don't. You think Democrats quit and ran, when they lost Virginia by double digits? No, they didn't. They kept pressing on, pressing on, and pressing on. You do this much better with Hispanics. You start taking almost 20% of the black vote. Why not shoot for that as a goal? Put the money in. Put the effort in. And you crush downstate, and you could pull a Bruce Rauner. In 2016, had they not fought Trump the way they did, Illinois could have been next. People are like, oh, that's crazy, Rich. No, it's not. It's tragic, actually. Hell, Indiana went, and Missouri was next for Obama. Look at it now. Trump wins it overwhelmingly. He wins it by about the amount that Republicans lose Illinois. Right? I mean, so why, if Barack Obama could win Indiana and almost win Missouri, why do they think in their mind they're defeatist losers, Laura? They're defeatist losers. That's the problem with the California Republican Party. They're in their minds, they are a minority party, a bunch of losers, and they have what is it, Laura? That disorder? It's like battered wife syndrome. But what's it called? Battered wife, is it? But also, like, well, you wouldn't leave your captor if you had the chance. Starts with an H, I think. You know what I'm talking about. It's on the tip of her tongue. Stockholm. I knew there was an H in there somewhere. All right, on locals, Dale. If Newsom is the nominee, how does RFK and West affect the Dem versus Biden? We'll do that next. Newsom right now, I'll be honest with you, he's not a force. Biden is stronger than Newsom, and there has been polling this week actually that showed they've been backing up what I'm saying. Newsom does not play well in the Rust Belt at all. At all. And he doesn't play well in the South either. I don't think Newsom could carry Georgia. Arizona, maybe, but no. There's bigger threats than Gavin Newsom. I'm telling you. Even though he's sharp, he is. He's slick, he's sharp. But there's something about him attitudinally that the people of Michigan, the people of Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, they don't like him. And Trump clobbers him. But we'll see. We'll see. Rich mentioned on Parnell's show that a friend of the family thought Kennedy was running to upset Trump's lead. Was that a friend of the Kennedy family? Yes. Yes. And it wasn't only to upset Trump's lead. What he said was, this was either a very disappointing plant job from the beginning, or he's trying to bully Trump into giving him VP. Which we're going to start to do too. We'll add the Veep stakes and see what voters want. We have asked in the past in other surveys and other projects, and the only one who's consistently been at the front of the pack, she leads a lot, and then even when she's not, because some new soup du jour comes out and everyone wants to taste that flavor, then she's still second or something. And I'm talking about Carrie Lake. Right. Snowman, my comment is not a demand of Rich, obviously, but we need the America First National Committee to vet and create a primary priority list. I get it. Believe me, I get it, Snowman. And don't worry, you didn't offend me. I understand. I understand all too well. Locals, WC. Fueling Friday question. If Trump gets thrown in jail, I think it's obvious the GOP and non-Trump presidential candidates will present themselves as the knights in shining armor to save Trump if we just vote for them in November 24. Do you think voters will actually buy it? No. And I don't think it's likely Trump will be thrown in jail before the election. Things will be on appeal. I have Will Scharf coming on Monday. I was trying to get him on today, but his traveling arrangements conflicted. There are motions going through right now. They are motions to dismiss based on presidential immunity. And it is one of the strongest cases that Trump has had in both the Georgia case and the DC cases. It's a big deal. And if these judges initially rule against him in this motion, it could be, I've talked to a lot of experts about this, and I can't wait to get Will's take on Monday. This could absolutely, this could be Trump's out on appeal. All right. That all of it should have just been dismissed based on immunity. And people think it's like too good to be true, but it's not. Even left-wing lawyers that I spoke to a lawyer, a liberal in Philly, and he was like, it's all getting thrown out through presidential immunity. So there is no way the appellate courts, and then eventually if it goes to the Supreme Court, there's just no way they're going to open the door for to get Donald Trump. They're going to open the door to destroying presidential immunity. He just doesn't buy it. And honestly, it makes sense because, look at the cases with Peter Navarro and Bannon. If presidents aren't allowed to have candid conversation, there are just some things you can't touch. Immunity is one of them. Why? Because then the office itself doesn't operate correctly. And privilege is another. If a president isn't allowed to speak frankly, and consultants and advisors, aren't allowed to speak frankly to him, then there will never be honest Uh, there will never be good advice. There'll never be honest advice. It's a major problem though. Right. It's the brainstorming, it'd be groupthink, cognitive thinking's out the window. Also, people will lose the trust in each other. It's a disaster. Everyone knows what the point of privilege is, and everyone knows it breaks down in a leadership role if you don't have privilege. Same reason why you can't leak transcripts of phone calls between leaders. The president's got to be able to speak to foreign leaders candidly and bluntly. Sandy, what's the appropriate way to handle RFK's candidacy, even if one does consider him a spoiler? I'm hearing a lot of, we got to go after him, in quotes. I also remember back in 2016 when I supported Bernie, I flat out refused to vote for Hillary because she and her supporters were being douchey. Sandy. Being douchey, Sandy says. There's a very fine line. And again, the vax stuff, you can't whack them on because that's just going to draw Democrats back closer to Biden. Give me 1 second. Let me close the door because the monster's about to run in. Hang on. I wish you guys could hang out with him, frankly, but unfortunately, I, again, would go after him on things that would make Democrats say, and I wouldn't do it nasty. I would say RFK's a great guy, comes from a great family. He's trying to do the right thing. But if he ever got his environmental agenda, he would destroy the economy. If RFK was ever president, a Democratic Congress would repeal the Second Amendment. He's a great guy, but if RFK was back in power, then, and this is for conservatives, like some of the ones we went through the little test before, and I don't want to say their names out loud. But if RFK was president, Roe v. Wade's back being the law of the land. I mean, I would go after him on things like that would make Republicans circle the wagons around their candidate, and then anger Democrats that you're attacking the liberal orthodoxy, and make him sympathetic. I don't want to give away too much here, but it's a great question, Sandy, and I want to answer it, as best I can here without saying too much. But they're a hive mind. Remember that. They're a hive mind. And they don't accept challenges on issues that directly contradict their worldview, because then that worldview breaks. If the worldview of one breaks, the hive starts to break down. Just remember that. They are a hive mind. And if you attack him on certain things in a certain way, you're just going to draw people closer to him. You'll even draw some critics that should be with you, right? That's what they did to you, Sandy, in 2016. The way that Hillary Clinton attacked Bernie Sanders, they did it in such a way that didn't circle the wagons around Hillary. It reinforced their doubts about her on certain key issues that used to be issues Democrats championed, but then abandoned the everyday person with. And then eventually, I'm talking about Michigan, based on estimates, low of 12, high of 18% of Bernie's voters went to Donald Trump. 8 to 12 generally is the ballpark in most of these other states. That was enough. It's a lot of votes. It's a lot of votes. Dale on locals. Barnes is bullish for Trump with RFK running as an Indy, since he will draw populist people to discussion that Trump would not. Additionally, he feels that in tight states, a majority of people who said they were pro-RFK will decide to go with populist Trump versus establishment Biden. For second point is more valid to me. RFK is nowhere on the non-likely survey research. He's nowhere on the non-registered population research. He doesn't even come up as a blip. The only one who motivates among those two groups is Donald Trump. So I don't know about bringing in a whole lot of new people. Yeah, he would bring some in, but it doesn't mean they're going to go for Trump. There is, however, very clear historical evidence to suggest that, the 9% or something ballpark, he's going to come out in our poll, could be his high point. And as we get closer to the election, and again, check out the interview I did with Roger Stone. It'll be airing on Sunday. if you're in the area and you listen and you get Roger Stone's show, check it out, because Roger's been around a long time, and we were talking about Pat Buchanan and Ross Perot and Ralph Nader. Some of these people were polling way higher than they inevitably got in the end. Gary Johnson even originally was getting, like, in some polls, double digits. That didn't happen. As time goes on, people start to say, even people who like both men, some are going to say, I'm going to go with Trump because RFK is not going to win. And I'm either going to make my vote count or I'm not. The question is how many that is. So Barnes is right about that. Well, he may not be. I mean, it's possible he's just wrong overall, but he does have historical evidence on his side with that. The question is whether it'll be enough. It's a great question, though. Ultra MAGA Orange Mafia from Getter or Stella. That's my aunt's name. My late aunt. And also my late grandmother. Is there any chance RFK won't be able to run as an independent? Yes. He needs to make this announcement next week because there has to be things in place by a certain time. He needs to get ballot access. It is incredibly difficult to get ballot access in the United States of America if you're not on two parties. All right. You're going to do everything. Whoever thinks they're going to be hurt more by him is going to do everything in their power to keep him off. Democrats are very good and have been very brutal about keeping people off the ballot. If Democrats decide that Cornel West hurts Biden more, they'll just get West off the ballot and they'll try to keep JFK in the ballot, RFK. The problem is then Trump's campaign will be able to use that same damn precedent to get him off. West made and this is something to remember, Stella. West made a bold decision the other day, which I did a stream about because it was important. He sees the handwriting on the wall. The independent candidate gets more votes, supposedly. That's what he's seeing in the polling right now. The Green Party has a stigma to it, and it's viewed as radical and communist even, on the Green agenda. So he didn't want to turn people off by being attached to the Green label party. However, the Green Party has two things that he's never going to have, which is, and by the way, RFK doesn't have it either, a large infrastructure and experience getting on the ballot. Greens know how to do this. Neither one of them do. It is possible. He does not end up on the ballot in a lot of states. How does Trump counter RFK and still beat Biden? Does Trump need to look at a different kind of VP? Also, we still doing the Georgia poll. Yeah, if we look at the public polling project right now, which I'll bring up, I pulled the trigger on it because I had to, but we were nowhere near funding it. So I would appreciate people going and still contributing and, sharing it, doing what you can to get more, of a funding base. The national poll was only about 30% funded. The Peach State poll was only 20% funded. I'll be honest with you guys. I hope I still would like to see the funding for the national poll at least get closer. But I can do one. I can't do both. It's too expensive. So yes, we are still doing it, but I'm not pulling the trigger on it until it's funded. And I hope you guys understand that. I mean, Laura and I, it's a lot of money, guys. A lot of money. But how does he counter it, Dweej? He does by doing what we just said, which is, and I think it was who asked before. Hold on one second. It was not Stella. I'm looking for the prior comment about Hillary's people being douchey. There it is. Sandy had the same thing, So when she was Biden, she was a Bernie supporter, and the way they attacked Bernie turned her off. So turned them off. So you can't do that. You have to do it the right way. And that brings up, on YouTube, DT would expect Trump to start going after RFK in an attempt to return his would-be voters back to the Don, right? Yes. And they just better do it in the right way. I'm telling you. You remember, what's the best VP for pick now for Trump? I don't know that answer has emerged yet. I really don't know. Lee Zeldin's a good pick. Zeldin, he polls up there. Kerry Lake does pull up there. I mean, it doesn't only matter, though, what people want. I still maintain that Ron Johnson is a very good pick. We'll see. Hey, Bob, thanks for that tithe. He says a tithe. I appreciate that, Bob. May he continue to bring fire and brimstone to Mark Levin and Nate Silvers of the world. Yeah, Mark Levin's out of his damn mind. Lost his friggin' mind. And thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. And I will. When deserved, I will come with the wrath. I promise you. FX Caliber, Ben Shapiro. Oh, yeah, right. That was for, right. Yeah, the other one. Do we believe the Emerson, Kentucky poll showing Cameron at 33%? I just saw an internal poll that had Cameron down, but he was at like 44 and Bashir was at 50. I'll tell you what, I didn't see it. Let's check it out. I don't believe Cameron is at 33%. I'm just telling you. That was like their primary number, wasn't it? You're telling me that they have Cameron at 33% in a... Oh, God. Yeah, I don't know, guys. That sounds very low to me. Even though they do seem to have... Let me see, gubernatorial election, 49, 33. Yeah, that sounds crazy to me. That sounds too crazy to me. I think, Spencer, I think you're going to take a ding on this one, buddy. You do realize that's a 60-point swing from the presidential cycle. I mean, governor's elections are different, but I would expect Bashir to win, and I don't mean I'm not trying to bash Daniel Cameron. It's just he has not been able to. He's a good candidate. There's nothing wrong with him, but and he's a solid face of the Republican Party. He's a great orator. I just don't think he was able to reach people. And he is a very popular governor. And as I've told everybody a million times, gubernatorial elections are not predictive of presidential vote preference. So you can have a situation where there's a very popular Democratic governor in a southern state and they win, Forrester, though, was down by similar margins in North Carolina. He damn near pulled it out against Roy Cooper. So, I mean, he did get closer as it got closer, but he was down ridiculous margins, double digits. It was outrageous. And then eventually it got to like, Cooper +8, Cooper +6. And, I just saw an internal poll from Democrats the other day, however, and it was, I want to say 50-44. I don't see any end game here for Kennedy. Is he trying to be a spoiler, or has the Kennedy part finally kicked in and the powers that be finally met his price? I don't see the end game either here, violence and poetry. I don't get it. He can't win. That's why I'm starting to believe what I heard. It can only be that he's really doing his Democrat duty and he wants to be a spoiler, or he's trying to bully Trump into being VP or something. It's the only way it makes sense to me. He can't win. Let's get real. What about conservatives leaning Kennedy, who hear his core generic Democratic mission on abortion, guns, etc.? That's what I'm talking about, Jonathan. That's what Trump needs to start chipping away at first. Deal with the rest after. Because you can have some Democratic gun, guys, the Field and Stream crowd in the Midwest still votes Democrat. A lot of them do. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. Go after them first. That's and then you deal with it, the rest of it as you go. What's the best pick VP? Oh, I did that. Does RFK Jr. help turn out more Trump-friendly voters, or at least bring these people to pay more attention to the race? Very, very, very modestly. That's the thing, addressing what Barnes is claiming. The problem with that is that we have been, and it's not just us, a lot of people have been studying the potential for a huge turnout election, and the people who are low propensity voters who are coming out are not coming out for Kennedy. They're coming out for Trump. Judy says, Barnes is letting his love for making bets overtake his good sense. Stakes here are too high. We have to tell RFK to cut it out, and Trump has to do what he did early with DeSantis, but has to be careful on how he does it. He's got to be careful, Judy. And I haven't been listening to what Barnes has been saying. I mean, I'm just being real honest about that, although I've heard it. I can see where he's coming from. I can. the polls, you got polling data showing both arguments. I trust myself. Even if this poll comes out and says that Trump does better slightly with RFK in the race, I'm looking at where the support is coming from. This is an electoral college. It's not a popular vote. You understand what I'm saying, guys? And I want them, looking at the top line of the popular vote. I want them looking at the electoral college. Asking sincerely, what does 6 mean? Can't stand social issues. What do you mean by that? What does 6 mean? Oh, the 6-week ban? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, the 6-week ban. It's like 6 weeks after you're pregnant. I think that's what you mean. Unless I'm mistaken, Blondie. Put it in the thing. Laura will grab it. But I think that's what you're talking about. I think the hardest hit on RFK would be to find something he has flip-flopped or waffled on. Something that shows he's not genuine, a hypocrite. That's a really good idea. And I would find the right issue that falls in line with what we have been talking about. That's why the environment is so key. You can have Democrats who don't know where he falls on it. You can have Democrats in the Midwest. I mean, the guy doesn't support fracking. All right. So Pennsylvanians right now, for instance, are like, damn, Trump told us so. So if they hear again from Trump and he tries to flip-flop on it, it's not going to look right. Speaking of which, there is something I do want to bring up. I've been taking a lot of heat from. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do it. But it was a moment during the debate. I put it up on locals and I didn't get a chance to go through it. If I do, I'll bring it up. But it's a fact check thing. So if you want to get the Matt Walshes of the world back, what about hitting RFK on the trans issues? Where does RFK stand on that? I really don't know. And where does he stand on the LGBTQ? I imagine he would say he's pro same-sex marriage. He doesn't care what anybody does in their own bedroom, but don't do it to children. I think that's what I've heard him say in the past. Issues that will prevent RFK crossover. Abortion, no restrictions. Guns, want to double the EPA. See Jason Whitlock's interview. Exactly. The Whitlock interview was a gold mine for Donald Trump. Exactly. But it's also more than that. It's the Democrats who would have voted for Trump. So you got to find where he is on trade. We already know where he stands, or he says he stands, on immigration. You can find a flip-flop on that. Great. Trade. Again, I don't want to say too much here because I know people listen. And they listen. If a new speaker can only draw one line in the sand of not another dime for X or will shut the government, what should it be? Defund Jack Smith, secure the border, defend Ukraine, or something else? All the above. I'm not kidding. I wouldn't just draw one line in the sand. But if I had to, the weaponization of government is the most dangerous. Even if a whole bunch of liberal voters are pouring across the border, it could be the biggest political irony ever in history that they go through a political maturation and turn into Republicans anyway. That's what's going on with the current. That's why they're bringing in so many new ones. They know they're losing the domestic Hispanic population. So they're trying to bring in, from liberal countries only, of course, a new wave. To me, letting the administrative state pick our leaders is the biggest threat. That includes Bob Menendez. I know it looks bad for Bob Menendez. Here's my point. I don't give a damn. The voters in New Jersey will be duped because I know them. I'm sorry. I lived with them for years. They'll be duped. They'll nominate someone else. They'll all abandon Bob. In the party machine will abandon Bob. He fell off the reservation. That's why they're going after him. He fell off the reservation with some issues that you just don't do. Same thing where Trump ran afoul. You interrupt with the Iranian stuff. You interrupt with any kind of foreign aid. You take the wrong side with foreign aid. They're coming for you. But I don't want the Department of Justice telling me who is and who is not eligible or worthy to serve in the presidency, the U.S. Senate, or the U.S. House. Frankly, I don't care what some crooked-ass Fed prosecutor has to say. You see the January 6th prosecutor running around stabbing people in Florida? Did you guys see that? Then a couple comes to help, to try to help, and he's swinging the knife at them too. These are mentally disturbed people who should never have power. You listen to Letitia James's video the other day? This is a disturbed woman. This is a sick woman. And she puts up the fake valuation in a graphic for Mar-a-Lago, even though a judge just said, have to review it again. This is wrong. She, the original guy, they just can't seem to care about Superior Court. They don't seem to care about the system, the way it works. They don't care. I have one silver lining. RFK may draw some semi-inactive Dem registered voters whose ballots would have just been fortified to Biden anyway. That's one point I was trying to make before in addressing the Barnes thing, and even before that. When you take that vote off the table, it's a vote that they can't fudge. That's one thing, and I think that's what I was going to say. Is I haven't heard what Barnes has been saying, but I'm inclined to believe that's what he's talking about. Locals, Dale. Please speak to the polling of Indy's third parties being historically higher than the actual vote. So they'll start polling a lot more. Ross Perot did it again, by the way, in 96 and then eventually fell. Pat Buchanan collapsed, especially in 2000. He just totally collapsed. Ralph Nader looked like he could pull a significant amount of vote. The most he ever pulled, I believe, was 3% or maybe a little bit more. When you're polling generic, independent, and third parties, like the someone else third party, and it's usually around 12% or something right now, that falls as we get closer to the election. When you name someone and it's no longer generic, and then that person has to go through scrutiny and everything, that falls. Gary Johnson, I mean, the Libertarian Party was hoping to break double digits with him. That didn't happen, even though early polling suggested it could. And some early polling suggested Jill Stein would get about 5% of the vote. She didn't. She got about 2 and change. And by the way, even Jorgensen was polling at around 5. She didn't get 5. Early Libertarians were. It's a really good question. They end up collapsing, you know. What do we got here? More attacks, more attacks, more attacks. You got to be joking me. See, this is the dummies that are trying to beat Trump. RFK is speaking at CPAC. I don't even know what to say. Do you guys hear the bombardment I'm getting right now? This is the reaction to the news that they invited RFK to speak at CPAC. This is how dumb these people are. Actually, some of them I would argue aren't dumb. They're doing this on purpose. What are my thoughts on Jordan? We already did that. How would a Trump speakership go? Would a Trump speakership go for his president's run? I think he would do it if he had to, but I don't, at the end of the day, Norm, I don't think that he wants to. I think he wants to focus on the stuff he wants to focus on. But, Trump, this what's so funny. Here he comes out now and endorses Jim Jordan. He's been fielding phone calls about being the speaker. The original idea before Kevin McCarthy finally got the votes after 15 rounds was that Trump be an interim speaker for 100 days, 100 days to save America. And Trump would basically tell McCarthy, what is and is not acceptable, to the base, because Trump hears it. McCarthy doesn't, and teach him how to stand strong and how to fight. Not only that, but when the presence of the man is there, you can corral people a lot easier. Nobody's going to vote against Trump. They're full of crap. Don't listen to the Bill Kristol's and the stupid correspondents from Fox News. They don't have the balls to vote against Donald Trump. They wouldn't. Never. So kind of like have it be Trump, has the gavel, but then, Kevin McCarthy is on training wheels. And essentially he's doing the job. He's just doing it on training wheels with Trump there to back him up, the muscle there to back him up and keep him grounded. With Jim Jordan, there's an argument you don't need to do that. And Trump doesn't want to do it, if he doesn't have to. But he would step up if he needed to do it. He would. And I knew this was true. I don't want to get into, privileged things, but I knew that was true. Does he want to be the speaker? No. But would he? Yeah. If he felt like he needed to be the one to do it, he would do it. And never, speaking of CPAC, Laura, never forget, sitting there, gosh, 9 years ago now, something like that, right? 8, 9 years ago. And Trump didn't draw that big of a crowd. He wasn't that big of a crowd bringer. He just wasn't. He's speaking at CPAC and he gets up on the stage and he gives his thing about, damn it, I've been asked this for years. I never really wanted to do it. I got a great life. But I cannot let Jeb Bush have the White House. Our country is in so much trouble. It cannot be, again, a choice between a Bush or a Clinton. Our country won't survive. It cannot be just anybody, he said. Or can't just be anybody in the White House, and it cannot be a choice between Bush and Clinton. Our country can do better than that. I could see it on his face. Remember that, Laura? And I said, this man is running for president. He's doing it this time. Everybody, he's such a clown. It's a clown show. The Charles Krauthammer, who's that other idiot. I don't know. He's fat. He wears glasses. Now he's on like MSNBC or something. He used to be on Fox's panel every night with Brett Baer, another tool. Jonah Goldberg. He's a clown. Let's put our chips in the pot. You remember their stupid little game? How many chips you got? I got a 50 chip on Jeb, man. Jeb's going to take it all. And anyway, I said, this is the story. Clip it, print it, put it up, edit it, do what you got to do. Here's the video. Took my own. Here it is. Trump says, not just anybody this time. Country's in too much trouble. Can't be another Bush, whatever. I wake up the next morning. The site has 1 million hits. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? What's going on? Donald Trump saw it. He knew I got exactly what he was trying to convey. And he retweeted it. His team was sending it everywhere. He almost broke my website. Remember that, Laura? It was something like, oh my God. Got like $3,000 in ad revenue that month, Didn't get anything on crappy AdSense and Outbrain. But that month I did. And that's because I heard the point he was trying to make. And that's very much I'm telling you this story because it's very much the same when it comes to the speakership. I don't think he ever wanted to be president. It's cool to be president. Don't get me wrong. But I think he genuinely did it. Like to hear Hillary Clinton say the things that she said, never sacrificed anything, gave anything up. Are you kidding me? He is on the verge of destroying his business that he spent this entire life building. He didn't even take a paycheck when he was the president of the United States. You fat, ugly slob. Get some ankles, cankles. Like I hate politicians. I'm so sorry, guys, but I really do. How dare you? You have never produced anything in your miserable life except for bribes and misery. Why don't you give the people of Haiti back their money, you thief, you scumbag? You're the scum of the earth, you and your rotten husband. By the way, wear deodorant. We've all heard the stories. You stink. You know what? I hate people who walk around smelling. And then it's like, everyone's always so mean when I say something. Like, Rich, that's mean. Be nice about it. No. She smells like body odor and patchouli oil. You're offending me. Smelling like shit everywhere you go. Take a shower. Wear deodorant. I'm the one who's supposed to be nice about it. You stink. I know somebody who was in a cab with Hillary Clinton once. He almost vomited. He wanted to put the window down like a dog. This is before she was, Miss Senator in her little pantsuits and her secretary outfits. She was the disgusting hillbilly who didn't use deodorant, rubbed herself down with patchouli oil instead of soap. She's gross. Hair, oily and knotty, little white things in it, look like eggs. Disgusting. tell me. It's just so mean. No, you're mean. Smelling and not taking care of yourself and not having basic decency to practice proper hygiene. You smell. I don't want to smell any part of your body. Not a foot away from you, not 5 feet away from you, not 10 feet away from you. If you stink, shame on you. Bill, you know I'm right. When you found her, she was laying in a gutter of petroleum oil, smelling like... You know I'm right. Look at her. Go look at her from her college days. That's a flower child who doesn't believe in soap. Moving on. Second choice for Weston RFK, we did not ask for. We didn't. Its second choice is really, when it comes to the general, it is what it is, guys. This is what it's shaping up to be. I don't know. I mean, there'll be some ballots probably that they'll be kicked off of, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's worth asking about second choice. It's not a caucus, and if they don't drop out or they're not removed, then this is their choice. So we can tell who their second choice is anyway. We don't have to ask. We can tell who their second choice is by how they answer the head-to-head and how they change their mind when they're presented with another candidate. Life of Brian, how can Barnes say that RFK won't hurt Trump when Barnes himself exemplifies the overlap and support between them? Did Barnes say that he would vote for RFK as an independent if he ran as an independent? Actually, I think he said that on one of the odds. I could be wrong. He did, though, didn't he? That he would not vote for Trump if RFK ran as an independent, right? Well, there you have it. I mean, I think he did say that. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, Robert. I'll let you speak for yourself. But I do think he said that. And if he did, Life of Brian has made an excellent point. If Jordan wins the speaker, he will be better helping MAGA candidates with money. Two things. Yes and no. Because he's not going to raise money like Kevin McCarthy is. He's not. Anyone who's speaker raises money. But Kevin did have a unique ability to raise a whole lot of money. That's just true. So there'll be less to go around. Likely, there will be less to go around. That said, he probably will give money to candidates that Kevin McCarthy would never dream of, although don't expect them all to get it. I don't. If RFK runs independent, thoughts about him dropping out just prior to the election, endorsing Trump and pushing him over the top. I mean, anything can happen. I asked this of Barnes, and he didn't have an answer. The Census Bureau earlier this year. What? Are you yelling at him or me? Oh, I asked this of Robert Barnes, and he didn't have an answer. The Census Bureau earlier this year admitted they made a mistake and that Rhode Island and Minnesota should have lost one congressional district, and Colorado was given an additional. Those new districts should have gone to Florida and one in Texas. Don't count out North Carolina. We were totally undercounted. Eastern North Carolina was grossly undercounted, and everyone knows it. One in Texas. I've seen no effort to correct this, and this is a 3 electoral vote swing, as well as a change in House representation. Yes, you're absolutely right. Do you know of any effort to correct it? Is Ken Paxton doing it? I don't think so. In fact, if you didn't see the new district in Alabama, it's outrageous. It's a majority black district. They carved it just because all they ever care about is race and population. Go and tell me that new district, which I think is the third, go tell me that makes sense. It cuts from the west coast, the west border of Alabama and the southwest side, and runs northeast along to the eastern side of the state, one side to the other, carving out parts of the the counties. It's insane. Go look at Dave Wasserman. Can't stand that chump either. Go look at him, and he's touting the map because, of course, he's a total hack. All he cares about is that Democrats are going to get another seat. It's totally outrageous. And Chris Christie was in charge of that, by the way. Doc Rick. Chris Christie was in charge of that. That was his job, to make sure stuff like that didn't happen. The guy can't do anything right. Is Kennedy's open to VP? Gopher says that's what I was told, that this is either one of two things. Either it was from the beginning a total scam, or that he's trying to bully Trump into giving him or offering him VP. I do think, and we're going to start to do that in the next poll. We're going to do tickets. Right now, it's not worth, it wasn't worth doing it. We had to focus on one thing. I don't want to confuse people and screw up the data. But we are going to start doing things like Trump, Noam versus Biden Harris. Trump Kennedy versus Biden Harris. We are going to do that. And we're going to do it soon. Again, I mean, our audience is getting so big. And it never happens like this. But in a perfect world, if everyone gave a buck, we would have more than enough to poll. More than enough. And I wouldn't even mind, putting in the rest. But we would poll a lot more in a perfect world. Of course, it's never a perfect world. And you have somebody like, I should give them a shout out. I don't know if it wasn't. I don't know who they are. I just know their last name. But like somebody like Kay, drops 500 bones in the national. Incredibly, I appreciate everybody's. But, it never happens in the real world that everyone gives just a small amount. Eventually, one day it would be great if we had so many contributors. Everyone could just give a couple bucks and it would fill up immediately. It would be great. Marcus H. Gates. Is your name really Gates? Oh, Marcus H. Gates is likely looking at running for governor in Florida. Yes, he is. And by the way, Laura, come on. Separate the names. What did Gohmert run against? Was it AG or governor in Texas, the attorney general? And he ran against Ken Paxton, dredging up all of this crap that they would later bring up into impeachment. And we all know why, because of, Gohmert. I don't want to say it out loud. The hell with it, I'm going to say it. Paxton was looking into some of his own questionable stuff that Gohmert was getting. Financing, I'm talking about. And Gohmert didn't like it. People who gave it the money didn't like it. Go ahead, Laura. You're going to yell at me anyway. I know you are.
Yes, I am. I'm going to tell you how kindly that I am in 5 different forums, and I'm sorry if I didn't space correctly for your liking, darling. Next time, I won't space at all for you. Love you.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable, Laura. You're going to have to face the consequences. The boss is unhappy.
I will play the rollout music.
and then come and roll me out, boy. All right, Dread Robert. Given Trump, yeah, I know I pushed my luck there, Flower Girl. Given Trump has a huge weakness in picking personnel, does his backing Kevin McCarthy, Lindsey Graham, etc., you have a chance to get him beat with marginal voters? No, I really don't think so. If it was going to hurt him, the McCarthy thing, we would have saw it in the primary. That would be the only way. Graham, I know it's stupid with personnel, but but Graham, he's only nice with now. Well, I don't want to speak for him, but I wouldn't fight with Lindsey Graham either right now. I want to win the state of South Carolina and end the primary as soon as possible, so I wouldn't fight with him either. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I do. The good news is on the personnel, and they've been running articles about it more and more. The mainstream media is starting to catch up. He basically took over all these like old school fake Reagan think tanks, and they're filled with like MAGA people now, like Heritage. And I say fake Reagan because they're so full of crap. They're so full of it. AIG, neocon. Heritage was Mike Pence's baby for a while. Well, the Pence purge is complete. And they realized last time the biggest problem is that the Republican Party, their president was not able to seize control of the government because Democrats were holding up a bunch of appointments, political appointments. They didn't have vetted people. When they could get someone through, they were basically being bullied into picking like total rhinos. That's how Christopher Wray got there, by the way, which DeSantis praised. I mean, he goes on and on about Wray. I heard him yesterday with the law enforcement thing. I'm like, dude, I remember you. What a great choice, Mr. President. What a tiny man. And I don't mean size. I'm not a big dude. Not tall, anyway. And I say he's little because he doesn't seem to be, big on anything. Like, I don't know how else to put this. Yeah. No kidding. You missed it, Glenn. We were bashing your friend yesterday on the show. It was hilarious. The idiot was on Twitter talking about how Trump was faking the 45.5 million and that it was really all his PACs and everything. He's such an idiot. He's such a moron. First of all, that's what Team DeSantis is doing. That number is across 3 committees. Secondly, immediately, myself, Mark Caputo, others, we immediately got clarification. It was Donald J. Trump for president. That guy just says what it has become really clear that what Glenn, without like you around him, even Adam and Dilly and everything, without people who know better, he is a total idiot. He knows nothing about polling. He knows nothing about fundraising or FEC rules. He knows nothing about how elections are conducted. Glenn, how many GoFundMe campaigns did that guy put up to like move to? First it was DC, remember that? And then it was Miami. Do you remember that? We're going to move the show. What a scam. Vern Buchanan. Florida 16 is a primary challenger. How vulnerable is McCarthy's partner? Yeah, you're talking about Anthony. We'll see. The same people are running that campaign. They didn't do very well last time. But people who were pushed by McCarthy, Steve Guest, right? Vern, Current, they're in trouble. David Valadeo, who was being protected. And I know Devin had said nice things about him as well, but everyone's just getting mad with his votes. They're just stupid. They're just dumb votes. They're not, I mean, if you're going to vote like a Democrat, then I'm not, what's the point? And those people who relied on Kevin are going to be in trouble. You have John Duarte out there. He's got a very difficult race. He's fired like 2 campaign people already. I just don't know. I don't know how Republicans are going to keep a lot of those seats. I just don't know. And that is the major problem with ousting McCarthy, along with the chaos thing. It's that he did raise a lot of money. He did. And I just don't see. He will have not a lot of influence at all. At all. Let me be honest with you guys. Kevin McCarthy is about to get a primary challenger, and he won't even make it to the primary. I would be shocked if Kevin McCarthy stays in Congress. I think he's going to see them through this picking of a new leader, and I think he will announce that he is not going to run for re-election.
And then you will see him on Fox News as a
and then we'll see where, right, Laura, and then we'll see, Laura, right, honey? We'll see where he really stands then, because a lot of those fundraisers, babe, you know it, and I know it. You know these people. They would never have been able to donate to Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley without his okay. They don't do it without his okay. And some people are like, that's crazy. Donors vote. No, they don't. Kevin has massive control over a certain group of donors out in California. They don't do squat without Kevin giving them the green light. All right, it's 2:11 already. My little kid's banging on the thing. I did get through all the questions, which was dope. Don't forget, don't forget, of course, to hit up the public polling project. I did see. Whoops, I always said the wrong thing. I did just see that people have been and did, and thank you for it. Share it far and wide. Don't forget, share it with people that you think may appreciate what we're doing here. And of course, the best place to follow us, folks, is on Locals. peoplespundit.locals.com. I'm going to go to Locals right now, basically, and I'm going to see, guys, where we're going to reschedule, because I didn't realize the pumpkin picking thing, Laura. And then I had several regulars from Locals say they weren't going to make it this week. So that stinks. And I want to make it up. And I know one is gone for the weekend, and I would hate to miss her because she's always such a valued asset to the Locals book club. I would hate to do one without her. And she helps me read, and she's a good reader and always is a valued asset. So I want to make sure we reschedule to a day when we all can really do it. So maybe we'll do it in the week to we got to get through this big book, and then it'll be primary season before you know it. And we only got roughly a year before. Yeah, they're all valued, Laura. They're all valued. Absolutely. And I don't want to, when people make the commitment to get there week in and week out, week in and week out, week in and week out. I don't want them to miss anything big when they finally have to take a day themselves. Yeah, you could always go back and watch, but it's not the same. People who, join the locals book club, you know what I'm talking about. And by the way, YouTube members, you join too. I put it in the community notes every Sunday. So keep an eye out for it. If you haven't done it, you are welcome to come as well. YouTube members of any plans, any class, and local supporters, and that book club is for them. And you don't need the book, okay? And there are digital copies we could actually get you a hand on if you needed it. But I personally love to hold a book. Go ahead, Laura. Go ahead. I just saw you put me back solo. What were you going to say?
I was just saying it's fun to be there live though, and
It
just
really
be
is.
able to talk amongst everybody and bring, storm about things. It's
Yeah.
just fun, And I get
Totally.
it. You can rewatch it, but to me, it's more fun being live.
I totally agree. Couldn't agree with Laura more. It's much. I personally like it live. And if I was watching it and thinking about, if I was not the host and I was thinking about rewatching it, it just would be better. I mean, we have these midway discussions, Snowman, if I can find it and figure out how to present the images, I want to show you guys images we got from the last pumpkin picking excursion we went. Laura, don't say it. You know what I'm talking about. I just have to figure out a way to blur out my kids. There's something that I want to show you that is really cool, and I know a lot of people would love. And I love pumpkin picking. I hope it's not going to be that hot. It's going to be hot. It was cold, and then the heat came back. What's it going to be,
supposed
Laura?
to be like 73, I think.
I'll take 73, baby. I'll take 73. That ain't bad. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it went down now. 49 to 66 is the range for that day. Sunny. Totally sunny. What
That
a
is, like,
perfect
perfect.
pumpkin picking day, baby. We can wear our flannels,
yeah.
or we can wear our long sleeve pumpkin
we could
shirts,
do our
gray ones.
flannels. We could do flannels and match to each other. And then we could wear the pumpkin shirt underneath it.
Pumpkin, pumpkin, my pumpkin, umpkin. All right, I'll let you guys go. Hot apple cider, pecan pie. Their pecan pie is amazing. Oh my God, I can't wait to get that for home. And the pumpkin bread. Oh God. I can't wait. All right, nothing but love for everybody, of course. Don't forget, share the Public Polling Project forum-wide, sign up on Locals. If you like the videos, like it, subscribe, smash the like button. Don't forget to hit that notification bells, those notification bells that'll let you know when we're going to go live. Sign up, share, like and share. You know the deal. And we will have many more results to talk about on Monday with Will Scharf, by the way, legal analysis. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for watching. Inside the Numbers. Deuces! Yeah, pumpkin bread is the bomb. Yes, on Rumble at People's Pundit on Rumble.